What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of Journey to Completion. In this episode, I'll be sharing what offer I put forward and how I did it. So in the last video, I left it off at the point where I was ready to put the offer forward. Now you may recall that I never actually mentioned how much the property was on the market for. That's because to me, it didn't really matter. I knew that there was a deal to be done, and at that time, properties weren't actually going for their asking prices. But to put the deal into context, the asking price for the property was actually £390,000. Now, after doing all my analysis, I knew that if I purchased it at this price, the deal just would not stack. But I had to convince the agent that I wasn't just offering low for the sake of it, and that I actually had a good reasoning behind why I was putting such a low offer compared to the asking price. Now, like with any property purchase, time is always of the essence. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I was the first and only viewing that weekend until the following weekend. So I did know that I had a few days that I could play around with. So I wanted to get this property offer accepted and take it off the market as soon as possible so that second set of viewings could not take place. So initially I did try to call the agent as I felt like it'd be better to do it over the phone, but they didn't pick up, so I proceeded to draft an email explaining my offer. So I'm going to be looking at my screen just at the email. So as you can see on the screen, that's the email I sent with my offer amount. I haven't dove right in with my offer amount just because I wanted to explain it and allow the agent to understand himself why the offer was so low and understand the reasoning behind it. Now this is good because if you just sort of put in a low offer, the agent's just going to think you don't know what you're doing and you're just putting a low offer just to try your luck. But if you explain it, then they can always see the reasoning and understand why the offer has to be so low. So as you can see towards the bottom of it, I've offered £360,575. Now that is about £30,000 lower than the asking. But with the reasoning above, I felt like it was enough for the agent to understand why the offer was low and the reasoning behind it. Also added a condition that says the seller serves the section 42. So the section 42, what is it? This is where a leaseholder exercises their right to extend their lease and serves this notice to the freeholder. If you're flipping a property, you can ask the seller to serve this section 42 to the freeholder and pass the benefit on to you. Now this is what I've done here. I've asked the seller to serve it to the freeholder and pass the benefit of extending the lease to me. Now why is this beneficial? Normally you have to wait about 2 years before you can extend the lease. If I do this though, I only have to wait a few months before I can get the lease extended. So in the email, I've also emphasized that I'm using a bridge loan and cash, as this would have enticed the seller at the time to ensure quick completion. However, 5 months down the line, this was not the case, as there was a load of delays from the seller side. But at the time when I was making the offer, it would have enticed them to accept me as a buyer. I've also put the option there for the agent to speak to my broker, so you can see that I'm a serious buyer with people in place to act accordingly and act fast to get this completed and over the line. A few days later, the agents did come back to me saying that I'm an attractive buyer, but they felt like it was a bit too early to accept an offer that was that low at that time. But the agent did drop that if I was willing to increase my offer by a little bit, they may be willing to accept. Now I knew that I hadn't hit my max offer just yet, but I didn't want to reveal this too soon to the agent, so I told them that I'd get back to them the day after. Now normally I would reply to them the same day just to ease the process and speed it up, but I knew that there was no viewings to be done until that weekend, so I had a few days that I could play around with. Then I went in at £365,750, which was accepted. At this point, I was feeling relieved, but the hard work had literally just begun. After my offer getting accepted, I straight away contacted my broker and my solicitor to put them in place and send the details to the agents so we can get moving. The offer was accepted on the 18th of April, and on the 21st of April, I had my bridge loan in principle ready, which in hindsight doesn't really mean much because you could probably do this at a later stage, but the agent wanted me to get it done just to show that I have things in place and a bridge loan ready. The day after my offer, I was in contact with my solicitors who gave me some documents to sign for using their services. These literally just outline their fees, any costs you're liable for, and if the transaction does fall out of bed, what things you'd be liable for depending on what stage it's at in the conveyancing process. Which means even if the purchase does fall out of bed, you are still liable for some costs. There's nothing you can do about this, so you just got to be ready to take on the risk, but great risk equals great reward. Now on the viewing, I did mention to the agent that I'm looking to do the 1 to 2 bed flat conversion strategy. So he knew that I had to get the freeholder's consent from the council who are the freeholder, and he knew that this would take some time. That's why in the email as well, I've put that it is subject to me getting approval from the council, so just so they know from the get-go that that's what I'm trying to do. So this meant that it was now time to go on the council's website and apply for freeholders' consent to alterations. Good thing was, after reading all the documents on their website, I knew that I could get the consent even though I was in conveyancing and hadn't actually owned the flat just yet. So straight away I proceeded to put things in place to make this application, which meant that I now needed to contact some architects to get floor plans done of the current layout and the proposed layout of what we're trying to do. So I contacted my architects and asked them to come down as soon as they could so that we could get the drawings done and sent over to the council, because I knew it would probably take some time for them to come back to us. It took about 3 days for me to get the final drawings, and then I proceeded to go on the council's website and make this application. So when I was applying for this consent, I was hit with some great surprises. So I found out there's a £300 non-refundable admin fee and then a £700 fee for when and if it does get accepted. And I was just thinking, what the hell? They can literally charge whatever they want for whatever they want and just get away with it. But it's part of the game, it's part of the process, and you've just got to put contingencies in place and make sure you're ready to eat up some of these costs. It was literally these unforeseen costs that made me so grateful for putting in a big contingency. So submitting the application meant that I had to provide existing floor plans, proposed floor plans, a brief description of what I'm trying to do, and some builder certificates as well, just to show that I was using compliant builders for the works. Once I had officially submitted it, I knew they had up to 60 days for them to give a response on whether or not I'd be accepted to do these works. Now this was 2 months that I just did not want to wait. So I was chasing them up every day, every week, but there was no luck, as they have several different departments that they have to go through and everyone's just chasing up everyone, so it does long it out a little bit. So it was just a waiting game at that time. Now this meant that I had to turn my focus and speed up other areas of the transaction. Now this will be covered in the next episode. Now that's it for now. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon.